And we are back here at the AGE Open in Los Angeles with a PTI and a gold foil on the line. And we have got our first round all lined up for all of you lovely people out there. Now, we had wanted to get Chris Iali on as Azalea. We said it depended on his opponent. Who is his opponent playing?
Oldham.
No, we're not going to do that because we don't want to.
Yeah. No Oldhams in first round ever
Not in the
again.
first round. Maybe later.
Maybe we could get a whole tournament with no Oldham and pretend that he just wasn't here today.
Well, because, Living Legend has technically not happened, but the hero is gone, so it feels a little bit like a lame duck thing with him on there. And honestly, we've casted a lot of those games. We want to do something different. And we do have something different for you today.
A rare treat.
We have got one of our judges and scorekeeper from yesterday, dear friend Evan Bridges, on a little bit of a different Lexi Livewire list than perhaps you have seen before, versus Iyslander Vore, a PT top 8 competitor, an incredibly renowned wizard player on Iyslander today.
He's based.
He is based. He is not cringe.
No, never.
He is Pog. He is the master of all of that lingo. It flows from his mouth like the ambrosia of the gods in the Greek pantheon. This man could not be more based.
It's so funny because Evan is somebody who has been on Lexi since Tales of Aria, even when it was bad, even when it was prisms everywhere that was messing with him. And it was a thing where you're like, oh, when Outsiders come out, is Evan going to be good? And then I think Evan watched Chris Iali's Fuseless list back in January. And since that Iali game versus Craig Pollock on January 5th, it unlocked something in his brain, and he has literally been bullying people around where it's like, oh, I have to play him every Tuesday, and I either need to play a deck that can beat Dromai and beat the other dude that's annoying like this, or play a deck that can beat Evan, or I have no shot at winning this armory.
Yeah, Evan he's been cracked. He's been cracked on this deck, and he's found his own take on the list that he really loves. He'll tell anybody who walks that his version of Lexi is the way to play Lexi, and I'm excited to. I'll wait for the equipment to be revealed. But it is it's going to be a little bit different than perhaps we've seen on stream so far this weekend.
How many codex are in your Lexi decks normally?
I think the standard would be about 3 Codex of Frailty, and then perhaps some Inertia Codexes as well if you're trying to shore up either perhaps the Mirror, the Kano, or the Ultim matchup, keep them off their Crown of Seeds, keep them off their critical arsenal piece, but certainly not the 7 that we see here in Evan Bridges' deck.
It is 8. Just kidding. It is 7. I looked at the Rain Razors. I should have gone with your gut, This is what he calls Codexy. That's his name that he goes by on the whatchamacallit, the Discords. He's like, yeah, this is my Codexy list. He played probably this list until he got 63rd place in Baltimore for the Pro Tour. So cashed money on that one.
Cashed money on this Codexy list, I'm sure, with some slight changes. Evan constantly evolving with the metagame. Working through, theory crafting with the best of them. Has a recently joined or adjunct professor of the experience, the team that Iyslander Vore is a part of as well. So these are quasi-teammates.
He just got added to the team. That's crazy to start practicing for the next nationals. I think what's funny is Evan has been the person in the background for 5 months, and so now it's his time to shine. And I think I just saw a smile from him where he was so happy to be there. Where you're like whether he wins by 40 or just gets totally owned, I think this will be something that we'll make fun of him either way. Don't worry.
Don't you worry. But Evan is a dear friend, one of the people that makes all of these events here in Southern California run through his judging acumen and also, just his sterling people skills. So we're happy to have him on stream.
Evan's also really good at being like, why didn't you do the other line of play? Because the line of play you chose lost. And it's like, well, I was trying this line of play, bro.
and we have against him Iyslander Vore, who for all of his basedness, pogness, and anti-cringeity, is one of the premier wizard players in the world. People, when other pros talk about good Iyslander players, good Kano players, they're talking about Iyslander Vore. He brought Kano to that PT in New Jersey when the Arsenal Pass team brought their crazy Kano, kind of the beginning of that Wildfire combo that was the kind of coming out party for that deck. It was Iyslander Alexander Vore in the top 8 with his own take on it, and he was not part of that testing group. He had just showed up. He just showed up, with his own experiences with the deck and his own theory crafting, and he was the one that made it the top 8, taking down, I believe, Yukili Bender on stream in that event. So this is no small shakes.
That was his let him cook moment.
That was his let him cook moment. It's true on his player
Right.
profile. So this is an exciting game. We've
yeah,
got the fist bump extending.
This is an Alexander Vore game, and Evan is just the package deal. You know?
It happened. It's happened. He's just now. Let's
what
take
is
a look
that?
at Evan Bridges' equipment side, because we see a beautiful extended art trench, a sunken treasure. We talk about all those codexes. We talk about all the different ways he's going to ponder in this game. Any face down card in his arsenal, he doesn't care. He's got 2 arsenal slots. He doesn't care about which card gets pondered in. He's just going to trench it away if he doesn't like it, get a resource. And in this matchup in particular, when you're facing down individual instances of frostbites and extra taxation, if you have access to some extra resources on the turn that you can get at instant speed every turn,
right?
Perhaps that's going to be the difference.
I mean, fingers crossed. Instead of attacking it all, we're just going to build a 6-card hand the way we want to. And then we'll see what Alex does. I guess you're looking for an attack if you're Alex on turn 1. We got some Findle's Fighting Spirits. We got some Command and Conquers. And then Wounded Bulls are in here too, so there's that kind of stuff. But then there's also Encase. That's something that people haven't been doing recently. Icebind.
Mm-hmm.
And do we have we have 3 Ice and Hell Weather Vanes.
And
so it looks
3
like
of the Sigils of Permafrost red. So he's going to be able to be making a lot of frostbites.
Yeah, we are going to try and mess with Lexi and give her as much frostbite as possible.
So we're starting off with an Encase here. This, Evan only has access to AB2 with the Bullseye Bracers and the Trench. So if any of this damage occurs, there's going to be no activating Lexi and no activating of the Trench on his next turn.
Devastating. Also, he can't Snapdragon Scalers either.
No.
What the heck? And he can't block all 3. Remember that for the people at home. There's only AB2. And I think most of the time Evan's going to go, oh, who cares? But it is like, you should care, dude.
So
this will start adding up quick.
So as of now, the hero is frozen. The equipment also frozen, can't be activated. Triggered abilities would still happen, but we can't flip that arsenal zone as of now with Lexi. We can't activate the Trench, even though it's an instant speed. Can't activate the Snapdragon Scalers or the Bullseye Bracers, so we don't need to worry about activating Lexi so far on this turn because the card face down was a premeditate. Doesn't matter that Lexi is frozen because that can just come out of there right now, which probably leads to why, or shows why Evan was so keen to just take that 3 damage and let his stuff get frozen.
Right. And I think what's interesting about Alex is, okay, if you have a blue in your arsenal that has some frost, if you put it at the perfect time, you can try to shut down half of Lexi's turn, potentially, of like, maybe you can shoot 1 arrow at me, but not both arrows, or instead of 3 arrows on your power turns, I can stop the 3rd arrow by waiting to use my ice my ice card from Arsenal to throw the frostbite in a certain way.
This is absolutely how Iyslander is going to have to find the key to these games. These Lexi decks, these Lexi matchups were hard when it was just Dynasty in the field for Iyslander. And then when Outsiders came out, these new cards like Premeditate and Infecting Shot, the 2 cards that we're seeing on the table right now, are enough to push this matchup into a place where if Iyslander is going to win like you're talking about, the disruption needs to be critical. It needs to come at the right time, and it needs to actually matter. It needs to be a frostbite that causes the opponent to be like, ugh, how do I get through this turn? Not just, okay, I just need to pay a little extra to continue what I want to do anyway. But this is going to be a block for 9. But this Rain Razors is going to come through and make it a total of 10. So this is now going to cause the Arctic Incarceration to come in response to the Rain Razors. So this is going to create 2 Frostbites to Evan Bridges, but we're going to see if there's going to be anything that can follow the Rain Razors here, or if it's just going to be representing a total of 3 damage, 1 from the Infecting Shot, and then 2 from the potential Bloodrot Pox. With 2 Frostbites, he's got a Codex in his hand. It looks like he might just have to Arsenal that. I'm not sure there's a way he's going to be able to cobble together enough resources to play that card.
Because he could pitch the Codex and play the arrow, and which makes sense because you have Rain Razors up. So now this is a 6 damage arrow that could do a 7th point of damage.
Absolutely. And you're still pondering on this turn because of the Premeditate. So this is a fantastic turn for Evan here.
And most of the time, Icelanders need to have an arsenal card to have any kind of back pressure, or like I'm playing on defensive pressure, I guess we could say, of I do have the ability to mess with your turn. That's a great first turn for Evan.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Iyslander, what the deck wants to be doing, it wants to be bringing your life totals down together. We want to be dying together at the same rate because they get Stormstriders, and the Iyslander deck gets to just kind of take you down for potentially 12 near the end of the game. So, for Evan here, you've gotten your opponent down to 26 to start the game. You're at a 5-card hand now, and it depends a lot on what the card Alexander Vore wanted to keep. He took 7 damage to keep that card, knowing he was going to take 2 more off the Blood Rot. So you have to hope if you're rooting for Alexander Vore here that that's a critical and important blue ice card that's going to be able to impact Evan's next turn, so he doesn't just run away with this game.
3 of a kind is so good for Lexi because it's like, oh, you were going to stop me in my tracks? Well, I'll draw 3 cards that could just be 9 pitch worth of, I don't care how many Frostbite you give me from the Sigil of Permafrost. Like, who cares?
Absolutely.
I have enough to get through it.
And we do, I believe, have an Art of War sitting in the arsenal for Evan there. So if he wants to just play that out and allow him to have the Lexi ability available to him later in this turn, he will be able to. That card does not have to be flipped before it is played.
Right. And so I think yesterday the Lexi decks that we saw do really well were kind of almost like not as consistent as an Oldham deck, but playing the deck as consistently as possible. This Codexy version that you're watching is probably trying to, if I high roll my opponent, who cares if I'm playing completely the right way for 45 minutes? I want to end the game in 15 minutes because I just drew all of my power cards back to back to back.
Evan here electing not to banish and draw 2 off that Art of War. This maybe is go again from the Art of War plus the +1 from the Art of War, because this is coming in for 7. So yeah, this is going to be +1 from the Voltaire, +1 from the Art of War. So electing go again and +1 rather than the banish and the draw 2. I wonder why he went in that direction.
Maybe he already has 2 arrows that he wants to add after this, so he's like, I don't want to go fishing.
And enough pitch, so rather than just get redundant cards into his hand.
Yeah, the biggest bass that I would get from my fish metaphor is already in my hand.
Yeah. The biggest bash alongside the red snapper and the
oh my goodness, red snapper
rainbow trout. Come on.
Higher levels, somebody said. Higher levels, question mark. This is just an AGE Open.
This is not just an AGE Open. Evan Bridges took this Trench list to top 64 at the Pro Tour. He cashed at the Pro Tour with Trench, Lexi.
And just in case you're like, Trench, why? Is it just AB? No, it's in his list every single time, so he can Arsenal with abandon.
Yeah, Arsenal exactly with reckless abandon. There is no other chest piece in the list. It is only Trench of Sunken Treasure. Now, in response to this Heatseeker, we do have an Aether Hail coming out, so not an incredibly powerful ice blue card, but just representing for Alexander Vore something.
Right.
Some kind of disruption he can do, some kind of damage he can hope to threaten. So this is going to represent 2 Arcane that Evan just snap takes, and then the Frostbite is going to land. So anything that comes after this Heatseeker is going to cost him 1 more. But unless there's a Blizzard in Alexander Vore's hand, that ends the disruption, that ends the interaction on this turn.
It does not look Blizzard enough.
Oh, we do have a Sigil of Permafrost, though I don't know if there's going to be any more damage that can be done. Is the Waning Moon.
I think there's a Frosting, a Sigil of Permafrost, and then the Icebind. Because I know my Iyslander cards from that 3-month period of my life. Oh, hell yeah, Drefter comic. He's having Evans back. This is high-level play. This is not your normal armory. There's 95 people. Or what is it, 92?
92.
Nike shoes? Somebody's like, how does that rhyme? It's like, just say it out loud, bro.
Yeah.
We're going to block efficiently by pitching the last one of our stuff. We're going to fuse the Sigil Permafrost. Evan's like, I have not had this card be played against me in a long time.
So this arcane damage is going to represent more Frostbites if it comes through?
Yes. What happens is if you fuse Sigil of Permafrost, in the next arcane that hits your opponent, whatever amount of damage it does you creates that many Frostbite. So the idea is to shoot your Waning Moon through after the Sigil of Permafrost resolves.
Which will create a number of more Frostbites. Now, Evan, perhaps when he decided not to draw those cards, because drawing the cards off the Ottawa does represent perhaps just more pitch that you can use to get through more frostbites like this. Like, he clearly thought he was going to be able to handle whatever disruption Alexander Vore threw at him, so he just went ahead and had to pitch a red infecting shot here in order to prevent one of the damage, but still now has 2 frostbites to contend with for the rest of this turn, which is going to block out the sigil defense for 4.
But we can see the endless arrow in there, which is kind of like, okay, that's why we're keeping that arrow and pitching one of our best arrows for later, because we maybe want to hit the endless arrow triggers on this.
But it looks as though that frostbite was enough to, those frostbites were enough to stop that turn in his tracks. You have to wonder if drawing the cards off the Ottawa there would have allowed him to have enough pitch to continue his turn in the way he wanted.
I'm sure we'll hear about it 7 hours from now. Or what is it, 10 hours from now? We're doing this for another 10 hours today.
Get excited, Blake.
Get your laundry in there.
Come on.
And get ready. I feel like everyone, that's what I do whenever there's a Flesh and Blood stream where I'm 8 states away, is I start doing laundry and errands in my own house. So get pumped, people in the East Coast.
So you were talking about a couple things. For Alexander Vore, you successfully turned that turn into just a Heat Seeker for 7, but we have right here another Artivore in Evan Bridges' hand, and another 3-of-a-kind.
3-of-a-kind Rain Razors is live.
And he's just going to go ahead and pitch that Artivore. He doesn't want to go ahead and do any of those type of effects on this turn. He's just content to draw 3 cards and prepare with that Rain Razor sitting in the back. Alexander Vore can see it as well. But, you know, we're seeing a lot of the power come out from Evan early. If Alexander Vore is able to weather this storm, perhaps he'll be able to climb his way back in.
Weather, because she's like a snowbind or
Sure,
that's
sure.
great. Or stormbind. The other thing too, like one thing that I've always wondered for the Iyslander players that have been in this outsider meta, is it not worth ever playing Channel to Bleak Expanse?
Dude, I love that card.
Because you just say, oh, you know what? You're gonna 3-of-a-kind that literally says pay 1, do nothing.
I love that card.
And now you can't use anything besides your arsenal. That would be insane.
It has so many pieces of relevant text. It stops any fuses from your opponent and yourself. It stops any searches from things like a Spark of Genius or a Sonata Arcanix. And it's a Death Dealer? No. 3-of-a-kind? No.
Spark of Genius?
It stops Spark of Genius.
Oh,
it stops Sonata Arcanix. It stops searching your deck. You can't search your deck from effects. It's such a powerful card. I love that card. But not seeing it here from Alexander Vore. This is just going to be the 3-of-a-kind. It's going to be the Rain Razors, and we're showing an endless arrow off the bat with
like,
a full grip of
look
cards.
how many cards are in his hand. Like, I don't care what frostbite effect. Like, the Sigil of Permafrost, I think, are so important against the Livewire Lexi, because it's like, this is the only way I could do multiple in the middle, because it's like, the only other thing you could do is like a blue Arctic Incarceration, which we've already seen one of. Like, when that comes out, that represents 2 of them. But anything else is like a full commit of like maybe some Stormstriders. Like, I don't think you would Stormstriders defensively in this matchup, because then you kind of lose your gas at the end.
Yeah, you have to find the closing power, you know, when for the Iyslander deck, and the Stormstriders is the way you do so. You know, with the Ice Bolt and the Emeritus Scolding, you know, we don't have the Metacarpus node, so that's 12 damage. You know, if you can catch your opponent with their pants down, that's 12 damage that you can do at the end of this game. So, Alexander,
dude, reading the trend.
Reading the trend.
I don't know what this does at all, bro.
Evan's like, yeah, that's the card that got me top 64 at the last PT, baby. How'd you do, Alexander?
He's like, well, who cared? I was the original. You're just the imitator.
So this is a drill shot 4/6. Now, you know, it's not as though that Alexander Vore on the Iyslander deck has a lot of blocking equipment. We've already used our Ironhide gauntlets, but if you put that on something like the Tunic or something like the Coronet Peak, that's just block that he doesn't get later. That's just life. So this basically turns into an arrow for 7, and we're just going to plop that on the Coronet Peak. So damage being taken by Alexander Vore, going down to 19. You have to imagine if you're the Iyslander player, you need to find something like a Channel Lake Frigid or something to stop the Lexi player. But look, we've got a Sedation shot now coming in.
And this
for
is
7.
the other thing that sucks about Iyslander in this meta right now is if you get an inertia token, your whole game plan out the window. You can't save a card. So like now you're going to be coronet peaking instead of having an ability to mess with your opponent next turn, because inertia puts your arsenal card on the bottom of your deck, and you can't do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And now we, you know, that at being that awkward breakpoint of 7 points of damage, are we going to see the coronet peak that not only blocks for 1, it looks maybe a little more enticing to block at this point in the game. It is a way to keep a channel like Frigid around. If you're only able to keep a card after resolving the channel on your opponent's turn, you can pitch a blue to that coronet peak and keep it around. But that's a game plan that Iyslander Vore might not have the luxury of playing towards right now, given that he's at 19 and facing down a sedation shot for 7,
Right.
with an endless arrow for 6 coming in the back.
And I think what Iyslander Vore is doing as well is like, there's a lot of these arrows that don't matter. But unfortunately, this is the arrow that matters the most for a game plan, because there can't be like, I'll take 7 to set up my Aethervalvisor. What is that thing?
Eisenhower Weatherman.
There we go. I hate that card's name. Like, that is so hard to pronounce. The Weather Vane. Like, I'm going to take 7 to set up a Weather Vane and then do another effect to dump 4 Frostbites on Lexi, and that will be enough to just completely ruin one of my opponent's turns. That's something where I need to do that, but you can't really take a full 7 much more than one more time.
True, literally. I mean, he's at 19.
Right.
That's less than 3 7s you can take.
So true.
And we've got not only this 7, we've got the endless arrow for 6 coming back that can be Snapdragon Scalerided, and then Bullseye Bracerided. I mean, this is a ridiculous. This is a ridiculous turn we've seen kind of back to back from Evan. And unfortunately, we're not getting to see the Trench do a lot of Trench things. This deck.
I mean, it's blocking AB. You know,
It's
already
true.
blocked. I think 1 damage.
Yeah, so we are seeing the Winter's Bite, which is another one of these cards that can offer extra disruption beyond just the Frostbite.
Right.
So we paid the 1, however, so he does not have to discard a card, though the next action is going to require an extra resource. But if the last action of the turn is just attacking with the Endless Arrow, we got 2 cards in which we're happy to pitch to do so, because Endless Arrow doesn't just represent 6. If it hits, it represents 13.
6, and then some more, and then some more. Like, I think you can only do it 2 more times, right?
Yeah.
There's no 3.
No, it'll be this and then 1 more if it hits, because, and it looks as though Alex here, he might just be forced into blocking this because he can see the writing on the wall as long as both of those are 3 blocks, and he had to stop the sedation shot. But you stop the sedation shot, right, to stop the inertia.
Right.
But if you block with 2 cards here anyway, then the inertia doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So then perhaps if he's hoping to keep a card here, there's a lot of damage you're going to be facing down as a result of that. Now, here's the thing. Perhaps he's trying to bait Evan into blowing those Bullseye Bracers, because then suddenly we're down from AB2 to AB1. But at this point in the game, we can't be thinking about that. But look, it's a 2-block. We do have a 2-block on the Cold Snap, so there is not going to be any way to stop this Endless Arrow unless that's something like a Blizzard. But if there's a blue in hand, that's not even going to do it. So 4 damage coming across. We're going to snaps it back in.
And I think there's a thought process where if you're like I don't think he's going to... Oh, yeah, close the chain.
Yep.
Okay, this is an overplay. Keep going.
No, because, yeah, this
This
now
again.
comes in for... Oh, my God.
I hate this deck so much. This happens to me every Tuesday, by the way. The fact that he saved that the whole time, I think this may be... No, it's not GG. He goes down to 2, or he's going to save it because he doesn't...
No, you fire it every time.
Yeah, okay.
You fire it every single time,
Jeez
bro.
Louise.
Oh, my God.
So if you're wondering, why did Iyslander go from being a very oppressive deck to just getting completely not a top 8 ever again, I think it is the rise of Lexi. It is the rise of... I mean, there's no...
Homie, that was sick.
That was stupid,
That was so sick.
That was stupid.
Holy hell. Okay, so there's the endless
and we're
arrow.
back to Evan's turning in. Great, yeah.
So we'll see what card Alex was able to keep here. It's going to be, we're just going to start with an
good
Arctic
one, though.
Incarceration. I mean, it's an okay
Yeah.
one. Those were 2 blocks left in Alex's hand. Now what's interesting, I mean, he elected to block the sedation shot rather than the initial endless arrow, but I don't know.
I think there is, like, you just guess wrong. And there's
Yeah.
a song and dance of, like, if you take the sedation shot, then maybe I don't even shoot the endless arrow and I keep it for later anyway. And yes, maybe you have 15 more health, but like,
That's true.
I have it for next turn,
Yeah,
and
you
I'm
could
just
just
going
set
to
up
do
a
it to you
6-card
next
hand,
turn.
for sure. I hear you.
It is. I'm wondering if there's an Iyslander chat where it's like, oh, we have a 50-50 matchup against Lexi, or would they consider it like it's like 70-30 or something? I love hearing those people talk about their matchups like that.
I totally think it's an unfavored matchup at this point. I think if you're winning games as Iyslander, you're playing from behind and you're finding a way to win rather than just.
And if Evan is beating Alexander Vore, there has to be something with the deck.
Yeah,
he said, "Get me out of here."
He says, "I see the
hate
writing
this
on
deck."
the wall." Extends the fist bump. There isn't going to be enough to do it. He just puts the trench in the middle of the table just to be a little cheeky with it. We didn't get to see now this trench. It is supposed to be a way to churn through the ponder tokens that come off the 7 copies of Codex of Blood Rot, Frailty, and Inertia that are present in this list. We didn't really get to see that shine here because instead he just did stupid Lexi things that did stupid amounts of damage. I mean, that turn was insane.
But I do think this is the thought process of I play the Lexi version with the most amount of threats, whether I'm pitching, because Codexes are yellow, so I can still pitch them. And, like, why did Iyslander lose in basically, it was 30 minutes, or we're counting down, so 25 minutes tops. It is something where, I'm playing not the most consistent version, but I'm high rolling, and it really works against a deck that has 2 blocks.
100%.
Goodbye.
I mean, that turn having two blocks left in his hand there, and we didn't see really any significant. We talked about it. You need to have significant disruption. You need to have some disruption that matters, and the disruption there was a frostbite, maybe 2. Winter's Bite.
Maybe 6 Frostbites would.
Our world does like no blizzards and no Channel Lake Frigid. And like the Channel Lake Frigid, if you can resolve one of those, that's going to go far in the matchup because every Voltaire costs you 2, and then the arrows that cost you 0 like some. But that's the thing. If you're, that's why I think it's not a favored matchup. It's probably not even really 50-50 because you have to find those cards. And if the Lexi finds her, I mean, it's just it's.
And I think that's another like inadvertent buff. Or not buff, but like why 3 Oak is so good. I don't say 3 Oak. Why did I just do that? 3 of a kind.
Real.
Oh my God!
Bitter,
I did not mean to. I'm gonna throw up in the bathroom.
You're a fab guy.
3 of a kind.
Problem with 3 Oak
draws you to your tech cards against your opponent quicker than they can draw their tech cards against you. So it's like, if it's your Channel Lakes, how many Channel Lakes did you draw versus how many Rain Razors did I draw? You can get there way faster than your Iyslander opponent because they're not going to draw cards on purpose.
So here's what I think we're going to do. And you tell me if you're okay with this. We're going to go to a very, very short break because we're going to get Evan We're going to get Evan Bridges right here. We're going to make him answer for his trench.
No way.
Yes, we're going to make him answer for his trench in front of all you fine people. Blake's going to go ahead and talk to him because they're such good friends.
Okay.
We're going to talk about the trench for a while. We'll come back on. We'll check in with you guys. We'll check in with the chat.
And Evan will never be on stream ever
Unless
again.
he's in the top 8.
This is a one and done. Get him out of here.
Out of here.
I hope he goes 1-6 now.
We're going to be back literally in like a minute or 2, so don't go anywhere. We're going to have Evan Bridges here, the winner of round 1 here at this PTI AGE Open, and we're going to talk about Trench of Sunken Treasure and whatever bull that just was.
Yes,
so give us one moment.
All right. Oh, Evan Bridges here. Congratulations on winning the whole AGE first round. Get wrecked. How was it? What happened? Tell us what you said as you walked here when you were like, please don't block the Sinless Arrow. Please don't block the Sinless Arrow. What happened?
Well, I had already come in with 2 like bigger attacks, and he'd blocked out most of them, and I had 2 Bolton shots in hand, and he had the Winner's Bite, which took one of the Bolton shots, and then
apparently we're not loud enough. Sorry, guys.
So I played the Endless Arrow, and it's like if he blocks it, then I just arsenal the Bolton shot, but if he doesn't block it, then Snapdragon, Bullseyes, Bolton shot, Endless Arrow for another million damage.
How did it feel to be sitting in the seat instead of the seat right next to the seat and looking at their hands? You got to see your hands the whole time on stream.
Yeah, felt pretty good. I'm glad my one feature match ever did not end in a loss.
Right.
Alex is really good, so I was pretty nervous. But like the one time he made me go first, and then it's like, oh God, what is he going to hit me with, like a wounded bull or something big? And goes, in case, fuse. Okay.
Yeah, I don't care about any of my equipment. Yeah.
I have a good arrow in my arsenal. I don't need to trench this.
Trench.
Trench.
Somebody asked in the chat, did he make top 64 because of Trench or in spite of Trench?
Okay, Trench is really good. So, Tunic gives you stuff once every 3 turns, and it's free. And okay, cool.
But it blocks for 1.
Yes, Trench also blocks for 1.
Oh, why?
And it has Arcane Barrier, which I utilized very effectively in this match. So Trench gives you options. I see all the time people make ponder tokens with Lexi. They draw, a card that they don't want in their arsenal, and they go, okay, I guess I don't get an arsenal. It's bad. Like, you always want an arsenal, and if it's a bad card, just trench it away. It's a resource. It's like, it's a tunic resource. Every time you don't
Like the card.
you don't like the card, and so.
I don't think I've ever bullied you for this, but what's the idea behind the Hermione sleeves? Like.
Okay, so I actually
Kinda
bought
weird,
those.
yeah.
Lexi's my girl. Hermione's my girl.
Okay.
I actually bought those for my Arachne deck, but that's a period that we don't talk about. You remember.
Right.
It was bad.
So one thought process that I told the people at home, in January you saw Chris Iali play into Craig Pollock and you go, Fuseless, Lexi, maybe I should stop playing this Arachne guy. And then you started bullying people for 3 months.
It was Fuse heavy. Yeah, I was on Arachne at that point, and I was interested in qualifying for Baltimore, but then they decreased the threshold, like cut it in half, and I was like, okay, I'm not going to qualify for Baltimore on Arachne. And then Chris shows up with Lexi. I didn't even know he knew Lexi was a hero, and then he gets second place at that, and it's a list that is was very standard and just seemed really good. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna pick this up, and then I won finals 2 of the next 3 pro quests. I'm like, okay, it's back
pretty
to
good.
next time. And then Outsiders come out, and like, okay, Lexi's
This
really
is
good.
pretty good. We can do Sedation Shot now, and then the 5 damage arrow that actually turns into 7.
Yep.
Last night, I saw you looking at Brody Spurlock in the finals. Was there anything from that list where you were like, oh, I've never thought about like people were buying battering bolts. Like I saw 3 people like with them sleeving them up, and it's just like, is it worth to chase that, or you're like, Codexy is my girl. I don't care about anything else.
I have 1 battering bolt in my list. Basically,
What?
it's right there.
Oh. Has that been in there this whole time? Don't show everyone.
Private information.
So, you got a top 8 to share this.
Yeah, 1 battering bolt. It's basically just for Dromite. It's a popper that I can shuffle back in with Quiver if I need to. And I mean, I guess it's the highest damage arrow just on its own.
I don't think people are playing Dromite these days, right?
Yeah, I know. Nobody good anyway. I don't know any good Dromites, do you?
Not that it's ever going to be on a feature match here. Lightning Press also pops, right?
Yes.
Is that also for that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a 2-card popper, so you have to pair Lightning Press with any attack, basically, and that'll pop it. It's not super efficient, but, it stops their turn dead. Lightning Press, I think, is just really good. There's a solid amount of blocking going on, and Lightning Press is, like, a really good card at punishing thing, and now Prism is going to get a better Lightning Press, so...
Yeah, we'll worry about Prism in a second. One thought process I told the chat, I don't know if this is your actual thought, this is just what I think about your deck. I feel like you're playing the most threat heavy to end the game as quickly as possible. Instead of, yesterday we saw Abyssal Depths and 3 Remembrances. You are not interested in that. You're trying to kill your opponent before that becomes relevant.
Yeah, I mean, Remembrances, I believe, will only come in against Oldhim and maybe Azuri. Anybody who's like trying to fatigue you and go long. I don't think necessarily it's bad. I just want to try to kill them before I get to that point, but I have been fatigued by a couple of Oldhims recently. But it's not even really worth considering anymore because Oldhim is about to be gone, thank God.
Right.
So I don't have to I don't think I'll need Remembrances against Uzuri or anybody else who's trying to fatigue. Oldhim is just kind of one of a kind. What
are you most looking forward to for the Dusk Till Dawn meta? Is it Goodbye Oldhim or Hello New Heroes?
I am very interested in trying Vincent. I started the game after Chain had already had his peak of popularity and got nerfed. So I played like 2 chains in CC in my life. I lost to them both. So I didn't really get to experience any of the Shadow stuff, but Vincent seems really cool. I'm in the process of acquiring a Carrion Husk. I will be playing her for about a month, probably, trying her out, and depending on which Lexi cards come out. So far, we only have 1, and it's iffy.
You don't like Call the Lightning Down? Like, what is the best use case for that?
So the best use case for Call Down the Lightning, ironically, is in Fuse-heavy Ice Lexi. Like, it's not a Lightning Lexi thing, just because Lightning
just
cards
Chilling Ice Vein, boom, boom.
Yeah, so if you play Call Down the Lightning, and you play Chilling Ice Vein Fused, you will get the damage through on that. Like if they block it, it pings them and it strips another card, and then if they don't block it, then they take the full damage. So you are like doing damage to them on that turn. You are getting cards out of their hand. So yeah, that's kind of what
from
it
the
feels
3 hours that I played Lexi at the Vegas pre-release of Tales of Aria, playing ice and lightning cards and trying to fuse both, it just never works.
Well, yeah, but you're not fusing with Call Down the Lightning. Like you're not running any lightning arrows, because lightning, lightning surge and lightning press are still lightning cards that were used in Ice Lexi. So it does decrease the consistency a little bit, but you're running, like all these one cost like Chilling Ice Veins and Blizzard Bolts, so you need a lot of blues, and most of your blues are ice cards. So I think maybe you're not running 3 different lightning cards like Press, Surge, and Call Down the Lightning, but Call Down the Lightning is pretty funny at minimum.
I think one thing that could maybe happen too is like Call the Lightning is in your hand whenever somebody's attacking you for 4 or 5. It's not going to work for 6, but you block with one of your arrows and then Call the Lightning and then Embodiment of Lightning. Now you can maybe put a card in your arsenal that doesn't have Go Again because you have a card. You have the other, what is it called? Like Call Down the Lightning in hand that you're going to Unity block. Is that something where you're like, I don't block ever anyway, or I would never block with not an arrows where I'm not really thinking about that Unity token?
It's situational for sure. I mean, I'm not going to say an occasional Embodiment of Lightning isn't useful, but the problem with Lightning cards is that they're all about giving additional Go Again, and that's not a problem Lexi has. Like, if you arsenal a Lightning card, that's a free Go Again. Voltaire is 2 Go Agains on a stick. Like, she has, plenty of use for Go Again, and so the fact that Lightning cards themselves are just giving stuff Go Again is, like, kind of useless. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, how was it? Your first time ever? So great.
So far, so
You'll
good.
remember this forever, or
definitely. I'm gonna save this in my liked videos and watch it over and over.
Well, congratulations.
Thanks.
Oh my gosh, get a real handshake going.
Yeah.
He's got 6 more rounds. We'll see how many he can win today. He's going to be playing some of the... Oh, I got to look in the camera. Sorry. Everybody always does that. He's got 6 more rounds. There's 92 people today. Let's see if you can get top 15.
Yep. I want to be up here and on the feature match again. So.
Oh, we'll always do. We'll always pick someone else. Don't worry.
Yeah.
This is the one.
When I make it to the final.
Keep it real. We'll just send to the parking lot if you're in the finals. Okay. Keep it real, y'all.